Hi, welcome back to Giro3 YouTube channel. This is a update for the MORI MA-100 rotator. The main update is, to start with, is I found out why and how this thing works. This is part 2, by the way. I didn't realise this at the time, but if you look in here, it says 49 teeth, and the bottom one says 50 teeth, but the internal dimension of this is the same on both of them. I didn't notice it, but only when I had it sitting like this in storage, sitting one above the other, and I went, oh, the teeth line up, and then the rest of the teeth don't line up. So when you look at this, you can line the tops. That's how we line that one up the top here. Line that up. When you look down here, they're out of alignment by half a tooth. And go, okie dokie. So that's how I figured out this works. It's one reduction teeth, but I don't know how they do it. It's somehow but you look at the dimensions here, it's exactly the same size all the way around. So they've done some tricky engineering in the teeth themselves to physically put an extra tooth, or one less tooth, or an extra tooth in one of the gears. So the top one has one less, and the bottom one has one more. So 49 versus 50. Where is it? Where'd the 50 go? There it is. There's the 50 there. So that's solved one mystery. And the other mystery being that I always wondered why this gear here, which was manufactured, was actually exactly halfway, set halfway between the 2 points. I mean, these don't move, as I said before. So it has to be because being this is on the far side. If you match up these teeth on this side, which that would be that one, that solid gear, it'd match up here. Of course, when you get to the other side, down there, you're exactly half a tooth out. So hence, this has to be half a tooth out. So mystery solved. I now know how it works. It was really a pain actually trying to figure out how it was working, and I just couldn't work it out. So there is one mystery solved. I now know how it works, all because it was just the way I just had it stored. And I looked in one day and I went, what the? Oh, okay, interesting. I'm going to cough. Sorry about that. So now we've solved that little mystery, we can go on to a bit more of an update on other things. So to get things moving along, so what I've done is I've got new clamps for this, because the clamp they had for this thing, it wasn't very nice, and I'll probably show it to you anyway. I'll get that. This is the original clamp, and that's set in like that. Interesting idea with the U-bolts. The U-bolts were basically stuffed, and as you can probably see in here, there's big wear marks. It wasn't been gripping, and that hole in the bottom, which has been spinning, that's all going to get welded up eventually. So this clamp idea was jamming really easily. So that aside, that's going to be recycled. That is just like terrible. So what I've done is I've used my stainless steel clamps. Now these stainless steel clamps, I'll take the bottom one off because I'm going to explain more about this one. They are fairly wide, as you can see. This one I had to modify to fit inside to put a 50mm tube in. So basically I'll just take this bottom one off to show you what I've done, just to and these have got big teeth on them, so basically it's going to hold any mast a lot better. And I've taken off the U-bolts, and that's another thing I'll show you too as well. So this is one of my clamps. This one actually is for the high gains. So basically I've just physically cut and shot a groove in the corner here. I'll just put my hand behind there so you can see it, both sides. And then when you can clean it up, that side, that's just so I can go in. But also what I've done is I've used stainless steel. This is all stainless steel, of course. This is but you can see the teeth on it, nice and sharp. I'll put my hand behind there again so you can get a good view on that one. So they're really sharp and they will grip any mask. Another thing I've done is I've just using bolts, stainless steel bolts, and I put a washer on the end here, so when we push it in, it will actually jam up on the edge here. You can see there, it rides up hard on the edge to allow this not to spin. And just the way I made this, basically I put a washer on. The washer is bent into a shape so it sits on one edge of the bolt head. So that's done to all 4 bolts, and as you can see, push that back in again, it lines up and lines up on all sides. Even at the top here there's still a bit of a lip enough to do it, so you've only got to worry about doing the nuts up. So that's that bit of an update for that one. I'll just move that aside. I've got a cough coming again, damn it. And I'll just move those up the road. So, now the mask clamp situation will be a lot better with this new clamping system. So yeah, so getting on to the next thing, basically I've done whole lots of updates and upgrades on this. I've also cut out the hole here, and I'm going to be using, this is so my plug and socket, which has changed. I'm not too sure. I was going to put a plug and socket on the outside here, but it was going to end up with a plug, which is one of these ones, these LTW Amphenol's. It was going to be sticking out way too far. So what I'm going to be doing is using the original mounting idea, where the cable went up through the guts of it here, and I'm going to use a modified chassis socket. The thing on the outside, it's just going to be sitting down here. And basically the whole idea of this is, so when we undo the motor, which I'll show you in a second, we can pull the plug out through the hole, and that can be moved away, and we can work on things if we need to. It makes it also good for reassembly. You just drop it down through and then do the rest of it up and move forward. So what I've done in here is I've ground away these surfaces here, because this is where the cable's going to be coming through and up into the next section. And I've also put in inserts, because this had all imperial bolts, flathead imperial bolts, screws and stuff. So I've put in recoils. So I've changed all the recoil, drilled them all out and put recoils in, stainless steel recoils in these ones. So this one's already been done. I've reshaped around through here because it was a bit tight for the motor. The motor would drop in here, but it would jam. So I'm going to look at this here. I'll get this, drop this in the right position. So before it was very hard to get in. It was not enough movement, so there wasn't enough movement to get it in and out. So basically you drop it in now, and you can move it around a lot easier. So that's one of the things I did. I've also changed the wiring on this, because the wiring, as I showed before, was actually physically squashed and bent and twisted. And it was really, really hard too to do anything with. So this stuff here is a lot more malleable. There's a big word for this early in the morning. So basically we're getting things moving forward with this, because I want to get this all set up so then I can send this off to get glass bead blasted before I can move forward. And the same thing when I go to get the top of this, where it's worn through, where the mast was spinning, I'm going to get that re-welded and physically tidied up and everything, and then so it's going to be glass bead blasted before I can do that, because I've got to get all the crap and garbage out of the inside of it. So back with the motor side of things, and basically allergies again. I've also put, these are Imperial as well, I've put inserts, recoil inserts into the top of this. This is actually brass, and I put stainless steel inserts in it, so I've actually got a really good all metric. I'm trying to get replacing as much of these Imperials as possible. Especially flat blades, geez. Okay, so I've remade the motor plate. The motor plate was steel, which was 1.6 mil or something like it was. This is the original one. I've straightened it out. It was bent and all buckled and everything, but I've straightened it out, and I use it as a template to make my new one. Now this was just experimenting with the hole size and everything else and whatnot, so I've been playing around with that. So, being the fact I wasn't going to use it again, because it was, I tried to straighten it out and it's just terrible. So I've replaced it with a 4mm stainless steel aluminium plate, which I've cut out, and then basically what I've done is I put this guard on. Number one, well, I'll get to the rest of the part of there in a section. This is the guard to keep all the grease, because it sits on here, so I'll put this in position now. And I'll put a little protector here because the cable is going to be coming up past here. Oh, sorry, the cable will be coming up from the plug and socket, will be coming up through here and then up into this other section over there, which I'll show you in a second. So basically I put this little guard there, which is a bit of malleable stuff which I've fixed into position, just so nothing would rub against the shaft. It won't get anywhere near the gear because the gear is above this, but I also didn't want anything rubbing on anything. So basically I'll just sit this on here now, so you can see what it actually looks like. And I bolt that down with the new screws, and I can align it. And then basically the gear, which is on here, will sit, get the fingers are in the right way, will sit like this. It sits in there, so save grease spraying out over everything, but also if any wires stray into this area, they don't get chewed up by the gears, because I've got a lot more wires in there now than the previous one. So yeah, so that will sit like that on the shaft coming in from the top housing. So basically I've actually done a whole lot of mods and that sort of things. I'll take that back off there again for now. So basically I've already fixed the gear onto this shaft here, because it was, I've used Loctite and everything. I've reshimmed the motor. Now it has had a whole lot of end float before. Oh, nothing I've done too. I've turned the motor upside down. Well, not in a sense, but I put the top housing, I swapped the top and bottom housing, basically to physically get the wiring out. Well, I should say I changed the motor slug around, I should say, moved it around the other way, so I can actually have the wiring at the top, because it was down at the bottom before, down here, and it was folded around and bent, and that's how it got squashed, because you couldn't control it. So I'm actually going to be doing this bending idea like this now, so I can actually play around with the wires without it getting squished and stuff. So basically we're playing around with that. This is just a quick update. So the motor plate's done, and now we can move forward to the mods that I've done to, I might just reset this a bit. So basically I mentioned before that I wanted to put limit switches in, because it never had limit switches. So now I have done that, and I can spin this around now. I'm on a bit of an angle here. Oh, my nose is running again. Oh my god. Okay. I'll just move across to here. So we just take it. I'll just take it for a bit of a whoops. I'm going to tighten this. I'm sitting in a little vice at the present moment, so just to see what's going on. So basically, we see now we have potentiometer, which was sitting here and very hard fixed in here. So these shafts, this shaft here moves a little bit because the whole thing was rocking. Being a fixed shaft, you had to have a lot of slop in the gear to take up any movement on this shaft here. And also the whole thing was moved, but now I've actually changed things around. So basically I've put the motor start capacitor here, which was actually in the controller. This is a brand spanking new motor start capacitor of 4 microfarad, which I just got in, 250 volt, just from a local supplier. So basically that's mounted, and that's screwed down there, and all the wiring will be coming in from here. From the other bottom half, it comes up from this point here, and will go into here, and then lay into here. So basically I've also put in a little guard, which I'll pull that out in a minute. I didn't bring all the spanners and stuff over. I should have done that. Badly organised again. So I just want to show you what's going on. The potentiometer is now sitting on a modified Create pot bracket, so it can actually physically move. You probably can't see it moving much there, but so I can put more tension on this, and if any movement sideways, it'll actually put the tension back the other way, and it'll actually allow it to flex. Also, you probably have to notice there's a bit of a cutaway here. I have to cut away and grind into this. I've ground on this side. I've taken the back of the posts out of here to allow a track for cables to run down through. I've put inserts into there, into M4 inserts into there, and I've M4 ones into there. I've put M6 into here, M6 into these ones. M6? Yeah, M6. Oh, this one will have M8 put into these. That's right, this one will have M8 put in that when I get to it. My bad, I forgot about that one. So these have M5 all around the back here. Sorry, M6s. We have M4s there, and basically there's M3. I tapped M3 for the limit switches, so the limit switches is sitting here. It's there, got 2 limit switches, and I've now put the gear, this gear which comes through on the shaft from the top. This is actually upside down, of course. that shaft was short, and I couldn't change it because you can see how short it is in the hole there. I might lift this up, trying to show you. It's actually short in the hole, and the grub screws were right on the very edge of the top of the gear. So to make things easier for myself, I've actually turned it upside down, so the activator for the limit switches, which I'll show you in a second, is actually on the bottom, away from everything. So basically, here we go. I might lift it up, and I'll rotate the shaft, which I might just show you. The shaft is hanging at the bottom here, which has a locator, flat plate locator. I'll see if I can grab that, and I'll just show you this working. If I can turn it with my fingers. So basically, there we go. The potentiometer turns. You can see now I have put a little arm on the bottom side of this. There's another grub screw going in, which I'll pull that out in a minute to show you. And basically it goes around and then hits the limit switches. Click. And back the other way. This is R&D. And so if you only want to do 360 degrees, that is heaps. And I've actually located and put locator marks on the shaft as well as on this to align things up, because you're putting this in together blind, you can't really see anything. So basically what we'll do now is we shall remove the potentiometer. I can show you what I've done to the potentiometer, trying to get this done as quick as possible. So basically it's a brand new pot. The original pot, its tines for the wiring were fractured, and as soon as I started to play with them and get the old wiring off, one of them actually snapped off, and I went, oh damn it. So I refurbished it anyway, and I just use it as a backup for something else, or because the wiring has to be now really close inside. So basically we'll just get those out of the road. These are all, tip them out there, left one of those in here. I've tapped the bottom of this. It actually doesn't go all the way through. So here we are. There's the shaft, which is now upside down in the brand spanking new pot, and there's the modified bracket that I've made out of a Create. So it's basically the top half of the Create. I've shortened it. It's normally about that long. I shortened it and rebent it. As you can see, we have two grub screws in here. They've been now fixed in position. I've had to countersink. You probably can't see it. There's a countersink in here to get the gear in the right position. Save putting spaces on. I didn't want to space this up too far. As it is, it comes through at the present moment. It comes through just about that far. Whoops, hope I get this right now in the right location. It comes through about that far, so it's in pretty good location. So it's not going to come through too far. So basically, that one there is done, and I've put a from a Kempro. Probably can't see it. I've got one of their insulators underneath the potentiometer. So the wiring will be coming this way, so that's good. That's all done. I'll remove this one. This is the new capacitor. Again, these are all I think these are M5. I think M4s, if I remember correctly. This is just tapped into the bottom here, and you probably notice that I had a sample. This one only just came in yesterday. I had a different one. It was actually slightly different. It was thicker this way, and it pushed it across. I thought this was the same. This new one was the same size, and I had to physically put a grub screw in there to hide that hole that I just put in. So this little shield here, this little shield I made up on one of the original posts here, which I've cut one of the posts, part of the post off both ends. So I pull this out of here, and this is one I've put M4, M5, what is it? M4 I think is on this one, M4 this one, or M5, one of the two. So basically I put inserts in that and that. To get this gear in here, with the gear from the potentiometer sitting in here, I had to take off part of this post here on this one, and basically I'll re-tap the hole, so the hole's totally gone because it was over here further, it was sitting in line with the other one. It's over here, so I took the hole off and then I re-tapped that hole to give myself something to give me a little bracket. So I made a little bracket up, so basically it sits like that to protect the gearing of protect the wiring from the gearing if the wire falls down in here. It's just chewed up literally. So basically that sits like that in there like that, and protects any wiring that which will be moving when we push it inside. So It's just a way of protecting everything. So basically it's a little bracket I made up, little shield out of some plate that I got a hold of, zinc, aluminum, zinc, whatever it's called, zinc plated stuff. So basically now we can move on to getting the actual, did I bring the right Allen key? No, I did not. Now we're going to get this off, spin it around, and there's 2 Allen keys in this. I'll try and get this off as quick as possible. I only did one up tight. And I'm going to show you the mods I did to this little beggar. So, what we have here, there it is. What it is basically an M4 bolt, which I've then tapped through this section here. I've then screwed it in with some thread Loctite, but also then I've screwed an M2.5 screw, you probably can't see it, or just, there's an M2.5 screw which I screwed straight through it so it cannot move. I didn't want it going into it, actually I tapped it all the way through. I didn't want it going into here, it wasn't going to be part of the locking mechanism, it's already got 2 and it's only a potentiometer, so I wanted to make sure this was fixed in position and wouldn't move ever. So basically there's a grub screw which is just screwed into here, and basically then I've lynched it off, but I've also put a little cut in. If I need to get it back out I can easily undo it, and I should be able to use a spanner on that to get it out if I really needed to, but at the present moment it's not going to be done. So basically there we are, there's that. There's our potentiometer arm that goes around and clicks with the limit switches. Click, click. Right, in the right place. So there's that next section. Now the limit switches are on little posts. I'm going to lift this off now. Move it closer. We can't see the limit switches, but what I've had to do to get the light in the right direction, I've had to shorten the posts and roll the posts around to keep it away from the wall. This is still a work in progress here. I might grind a little bit more out of there because there's heaps of thickness in the wall thickness here, way thick. So basically they're held in by M3 screws, and they've got 6mm spacers, which you can see just maybe down there, maybe if you're lucky. You can see there's spaces, they just don't need the right height. 6mm was exactly the right height I needed. But the tricky bit I've done here, save having 2 arms, or have these potentiometers, not potentiometers, these micro switches for the limit switches. I'll grab the Phillips head. Well, I didn't bring the right Phillips head over it, did I? I'm just using whatever screws I've got at the present moment, but I'll be replacing these with screws that will make a difference. So there was a plan to move these up from the bottom, but there's not enough room on the bottom because things might hit them. So I'm going to probably, these posts, or not posts, these spacers will probably be fixed in position. As you can see, there's the spacers there now. They're sitting there loose at the present moment. Now, as you notice, this limit switch doesn't have an arm on it, and this limit switch does. So basically, with a bit of bending and tweaking, I was able to move the limit switch so it actually will move in both directions in this groove here. A very light action. These are actually limit switches of a Create actually, which I've then put an adapter arm in, so Create rotated RC model. So it allows it to move both ways, so then I can actually have it activating both limit switches instead of having 2 arms in here, or an arm which I had to fix to the back somehow. And so I worked around this. We'll work around these things to try and get things working. So we'll get these things out of here. This is a big strip down anyway, so basically I might pull the one out as well, and I'll show you more what I've done in here. Grinding things away to get things to fit, because these never had a room in there to have limit switches. So I don't like rotators without limit switches. So basically, if you look in there now, you can see I've cut through here because this went right to the wall. So basically both these went right to the wall. So basically I've then ground through here. probably just see that in the ground. I've ground right through, but I've left enough of a shoulder there. I probably could have gone further. It wouldn't really matter. It's only to lay wires in, so it's not a major issue. So, and you go up into here. I've cut into here to make a nice flat base to visit and cut that all out. This is what look at a little. It's a Dremel tool I have with a very flat. It's more like a square cut gear in a sense, sharp square cut gear, and I've got a hold of, so it works really, really well for going around these things and round the corners off and everything. This will be all glass, be blasted to smooth it up a bit more. And basically I've just gone in through here as much as I can. I've taken out the sides here, well there, shaped a bit more through here, shaped these, narrowed this so the actual, that will fit in. I had to narrow these to get this to fit in, so it's a nice fit. Not too wide a fit, the wiring, because the wiring what I want to do is to come all poked down into here. When you assemble the top half together, it's all blind, you can't physically see when you're assembling it, so I want all the wires to move down into here and not move anywhere else, so to all lay down in these grooves here. So that's the plan, and also to push down into this section at the back on this run here as well, push down into there. So the whole idea is to physically do that. So in here, you see I've just tapped all the way through. The screws will come up level with this, and there's a mistake I made with the thing, so you can see that when there's two there, so I'll screen it so that now it won't leak through because it sits that way. So yeah, this sits that way. So all my stuff will be hanging upside down in here, hence why I've done things the way I've done things. So yeah, so what else is to talk about? So we've got all that happening. I might show you the modified. What I've done is I've got my flanged, has a square flange on here normally. I've taken the square flange off and made a shoulder. We're getting close enough. There's a slight shoulder there, around in a circle, and then I've got a boot. This one comes from an imitator. I'm really using all different sorts of rotators here to get this one working. And basically this will be wired, fed through here. I'll probably cut this back because it's slightly wider there for the cable I will be using. And physically I'll be most likely siliconing this so it's in one piece, and then it will just slid together and seal that up as a steel unit, because that will be on the outside. As I said before, we'll probably be coming down through. I'm going to use a new strap in here, the wiring being up in here. We take the strap off and we can pull the whole thing out through the hole here and move things away for servicing, just to make things easier. So, and or assembly too as well, instead of having to, because they had terminal blocks in here which were just a terrible way of doing things. So yeah, and that'll sit down here somewhere, and the plug will just snap. These are a snap lock plug, these ones, so when you get them located, you turn it round to the point, and then you just turn it and it just snaps in place. Just click and that's it, done. There you are. Okie dokie, and probably a little update on this gear here, this one here I mentioned before. I think when they manufactured this one, I think, as you can see, this first set for where the roll pins were, or whatever they had, the pins of some sort, there must be solid pins because you can't see them. If they're a roll pin, you'll see that they actually would be hollow. So I think when someone manufactured this gear, they stuffed it up and it was sitting in the wrong position. So I think what they had to do was they had to pull it out and pull the whole thing apart and then reposition it in the right position, because it has to be half a tooth out, as you can see. So before this video dies, I'll go, when was I going to do? The whole rotator had a bit of end float, and I've found that I've got enough room. I'm going to get this face finished to allow the bearings to come up further to stop the end float, because with the end float was giving me a lot of rock within the bearing. Welcome back. As I was about to say when the battery died, damn, I'll put this on the bottom of the other video. So basically, to stop end float and stop sideways moving on this, I'm going to get this lineage down. I've got to go down about 1/2 mil at least. There's enough room in the step between that and the step between everything. When I lined everything up, I had enough room to do this, so it was like, oh that's right, a step into here, this raised section here and that raised section there, they mate up, and I've got a small gap which you can only just see in there. Oops, I hope I get it in the right location. I don't need a hell of a lot, so I'm going to play with that. Get this apart again. I'm going to play with that in the future before it all goes up and gets blasted. I've also will be putting the M8s into that housing as well, so the inserts. So that's our quick our extension of our update. I've just received yesterday all the bearings to replace all the bearings in this whole assembly, so I can start putting things back together again in a sense, and basically I'll be up and running. Because all these have the bearings, and these are all really rough. So if you're going to replace one bearing, you may as well replace the lot. We hear them as rough as anything. So basically, all those have bearings put in. That will have bearings put in it. They've all just arrived here yesterday. Hence, I can probably show you these limit switches. I should show you a closer one of these. I've actually rolled them over, the ends over, to physically get them, so I can actually put wire, and the wiring coming in from the bottom will be sold into there, and the wiring will be going underneath, so it keeps it away from all moving parts. So all the little innovations I've got to do to physically get this to work, and put limit switches in it, and put a motor step capacitor on board, so I don't have to have it in the controller. This is where it should be, at the motor. So okie dokie, so now I can really say this is the I shall catch you next video. Basically that's what I say. Catch you next video and updates on this one. So this is the I keep saying MORI, it's MORI MA-100. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but we'll go with MORI, or MORI will do. MORI, we'll call it MORI MA-100. So have a good one, keep out of trouble and keep safe, and we'll see you next video. Bye.